Hi everyone, welcome back. It's been a really long time since I made a video. I do apologize about that. This one is going to be geared towards cold process soap makers. If you're pretty new to soap making itself, these might be just good for you to watch. I do want you to be aware that there are different kinds of soap making methods. This one is focusing on cold process. You don't want to get all these confused when you're doing your research or trying to decide what method to use. So basically this is just going to be an FAQ. I'm going through some of my groups that I am a member in and seeing what people comment, and I'm posting other people's responses, answers, and then I'm going to also answer some of these myself while I go through it. So if that sounds interesting, go ahead and join us. Okay, so what does everyone use to melt their coconut oil and dispense it? So for myself, what works best for coconut oil is also depending on the time of the year. You'll see a lot of people, these say, you know, they just put it outside. My coconut oil doesn't always stay completely hardened. When it is hard, I will get a very heavy duty spoon or something to get it out of the large container that I have and just kind of scrape it out, put it in a container, and then melt it down a little bit. I just do in the microwave, little 5-second bursts. Or if I have a lot of it, I will just put it all in the container and then I will put it on a big melting pot over the stove, and I'll melt all of my oils down at the same time, and I do this on a super low heat. You can measure and weigh your oils when they are hard. It's going to be the same as when they're liquid, so you don't have to worry about that. I was super worried about that in the beginning. The next question, it says, I've been making soap on and off for years. How do I clean up? So basically, if you're new to soap making or you don't know this already, cold process soap especially, when I first started doing the soap routine, I would clean up like immediately after I made the soap, and it was just such a nightmare. I was spending lots of time scrubbing the stuff. There was oil everywhere. It was gross. I found out if you put everything in your pot, your pan, container, whatever you made your soap in, and just let it sit for about 2 days, you put your gloves back on, you wash your dishes. It's basically soap at this point. It's just not going to be a very hard soap, and it is still going through a curing process. That's why you don't use it like the day after you make it. So I don't want to advise everybody or let people think that you can skip the cure process. You really can't, but it is an easy way to clean up your tools. Now this next question, I posted got a few different posts from people because it talks about discoloration. If you're interested in that, I have a whole video on cold process soap, how to work with discoloration, what it is. So the clip on the left, or the screenshot on the left, it has a dark outline and everything else is light inside. This is actually the soap discoloration from the fragrance oil. I wanted you guys to see this. It's not the best picture that I've seen, but you will also notice if you don't rotate your soap evenly sometimes that the discoloration won't come all the way through, so you do have to rotate your soap. I've had that happen one time. Also the discoloration, they want to know how long it takes and stuff like that. I would say usually within about a week or two you're going to see the final color, but some fragrance oils, I have seen it go the whole month just because it's slower to cure. It depends on what else is in your soap as well. So if you want to work with discoloration, you definitely can color your soaps. I have, like I said, a whole video kind of explains that a little bit more if you're interested in that. The next question that we have, sorry my son is loud. What is preferred essential oils or fragrance oils? This is a personal choice. You can combine the two. I have found that selling, when I first started out, I used a lot of essential oils and cold process soap. To me, it was kind of a waste of money because even when I would do farmers markets and stuff like that, people really didn't care, and I did still have some soaps that were made with fragrance oils, and people actually preferred the smells of those over the essential oils. So if somebody was looking for specific essential oils, there was maybe like 2 or 3 that I kept around that were more popular that I used in my selection. I didn't do a whole line of that, but that's just how I wanted to answer. You can see how other people answer that as well. This one is kind of interesting. People want to know the difference between soap and shampoo bars. The picture I have here has kind of what like Lush uses for their shampoo bars. And a lot of recipes that you'll see online, there are different kinds. I forget what they call the SLA noodle. Maybe if you know, leave me a comment, let me know. But those used to make those type of shampoo bars if you want ones like Lush or somebody like that. I've seen other people make it. I just don't know what the names are. A lot of other recipes that I found online when I first started doing cold process soap are shampoo bars. Now, I just want you to know, and I want to clarify this with you, they are 9 times out of 10 just a regular soap cold process recipe. The only thing that is going to make them different is the butters and oils that are added into it. Some are going to be designed to be a little bit more thick. They're not going to have a bubbly lather. So you're going to kind of notice that when you make them. Also, if you do want to do this, you can always take a vinegar. They tell you to use like apple cider vinegar or regular vinegar. I've seen it too. And that can rinse your hair out. You're just stripping your hair basically from some of the harsh chemicals. For me, it wasn't something that I could do all the time. It kind of made my hair feel heavy in it. I tried a lot of different recipes. If you've had success with it, go ahead. Like I said, leave us a comment and let us know. Hey guys, a question, thanks in advance. When putting purees, what is the amount of water we discount? So I have a couple videos on purees if you guys want to watch those as well. But basically, when you add a puree, it is a water substitute. You can do up to, I believe, 3/4 of your water discount the puree. I have done that before. It does get a little heavy and it does trace a little bit different. I would recommend though going to about 1/2 or 1/4 is usually a little bit nicer bar in my experience. Okay, these are pictures of the soap maybe starting to volcano, the soap starting to crack, something like that. This is not a big issue, guys. When the first time I saw this, I freaked out. But as you can see, both of these soaps, I'm going to tell you how to help yourself so you don't get this. They are probably in a wood box and then in a silicone mold. That is going to heat your soap up. So I know a lot of recipes tell you to put a towel over it and kind of basically cover the soap, keep the heat in. That is fine, but if you start to notice it cracking, you want to get your soap cooler. So you can put it in the fridge. I don't do that, but I've seen people do that. A lot of times just unwrapping it or taking it out of the wood box that it comes in is going to help. I am very sorry, my son. Let me pause for a second. But basically, that is how you can control the heat, and it's not a big issue. You can just take, like people are saying here, a spoon and kind of finagle the lines. If you use melt and pour and cold process soap, you could just even fill in a little line and make this a design element. Of course, you don't have to do that the next time you make the soap. It's just, it's when you cut it, you're not hardly even going to notice it, I promise. Okay, this question I put in is a little bit of humor, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. So it's kind of asking or saying, hey, how they're buying lye, and they go to the hardware store and people are looking at them goofy. Yes, the lye in the hardware store is going to be the same lye that you're using soap. However, I did work at a hardware store when I was probably about 18, 19 in college. And this is one of the items which I was young and naive at the time, so I didn't know, didn't really make the connection. I was not a soap maker at this time. It's one of the items that they tell us to look out for. If somebody's buying this in bulk, we kind of question it and kind of, a lot of times we had a button in our counter and we would send the manager to be in our space in case something just went down. I was usually not that interested in doing that because I was like, people are just, out shopping, minding their business. There were certain items like batteries, basically all the stuff you could use to make meth. Yes, people might think you're a meth head if you're buying gallons and gallons of lye. So I would recommend finding a reputable place you could buy it online. It's just, in my opinion, a little bit easier. It may not always be the cheapest items or the cheapest way to buy the lye, but the soap guy is great. I've bought from him. Essential oils is great, or essential bulk oils or something like that. I've gone to Brambleberry. I've gone to Wholesale Supply Plus. I've bought it off Amazon. 9 times out of 10, it's all the same thing, and it is a hazardous material if they're shipping it. So a lot of these shippers do know how to ship it. They will also know, I don't want to say they're going to know if you're buying it for drugs or buying it for soap, but I think they have a better idea of understanding what people are buying it for. You won't get so many head turns. So just be prepared for that. Let's see. This lady says, my question, what am I doing wrong? New to cold process, use one mica first color, then the second seized on me, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to be flat out honest. The mica should never cause the seizing in a soap. That is just unheard of. Colorants like that won't cause it. She also says she used rubbing alcohol to add it. So what is she doing here that is wrong? She is confusing, which I make melt and pour soap. When you disperse the micas, you want to put them in rubbing alcohol and add it to your soap. If you are doing cold process soap or hot process soap or basically any other method, you do not want to use that rubbing alcohol at all. What I do is I use a tiny bit of the oil that I'm using for the recipe. I'm talking like a tablespoon or two. I take that out of the recipe. I get little tiny cups. I put the oil in there. I disperse the mica and it makes it more fluid. You do not have to do that. That is an extra step. Next question. Silly mistake. I bought palm kernel oil instead of palm oil. When you are looking at your recipes online, I just want to point this out. Make sure you know exactly what type of oil you are getting and get the same one. The only one that I find not an issue is when they use olive oil and then extra virgin olive oil. There's usually no difference between that. The melt points on coconut oil, you can put them through the soap calculator. There's honestly not a big difference on those. I have not had an issue. I can't figure out what the melt temperature is on a lot of coconut oil anyway, so I just know that some of it's a little bit softer. There is also a fractionated coconut oil. If you're putting that in on the soap calculator, that is something else. That is a liquid form oil. It's going to be a liquid all year round on the shelf. So when you're researching your oils, make sure that you have a good understanding of what kind of oils you're needing. Get an idea if it should be liquid, if it should be coming in chunks, if it's in a gallon and it's solid. Just have an idea of what it's supposed to look like or what you're supposed to be using, because there are some oils that basically are called the same thing or very similar names, but they are very different oils and it will make your recipe different. Okay, and this one, it also talks about the palm kernel and you can substitute for coconut. You're going to want to do some research with those because you want to make sure the sat values are the same whenever you're doing that, and always run it through the soap calculator if you're going to do something like that. There are very few that I know off the top of my hand that you can straight sub. I believe one is sunflower oil and safflower oil. I can never say that right, sorry. But those have pretty close to sat values. And like I said, you can't just substitute oils for oils without changing your entire recipe, so I do want you guys to be aware of that too. You want to do some research if you're going to do something like that. So if you guys like this video, if you learned something today, don't forget to like the video. It helps my channel out a lot. Definitely subscribe if you want more videos like this. Leave me a comment if you have a question. I'm going to be doing a couple more videos like this. I'm going to do different ones for melt and pour, maybe craft fairs, different types of things. If there's something you have questions on, I love to hear it, love to see it. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week.